Hi everybody, Trudy here, One Grounded Angel. This is the weekly angel card reading video for the week starting March the 4th to the 10th, 2019. Thank you for your patience last week. A few technology problems. I was delayed. I couldn't get to Wi-Fi in time. The video was very late, but I really appreciate those of you who were patient there and waited to watch it. So before I start shuffling the cards and telling you what cards are going to come up for this week, just a little FYI, some of you know I'm also an astrology writer, and so I do occasionally in these videos like to give a little prelude to what might be happening in the stars, if it's, you know, particularly significant. I'm someone who doesn't really live or die by the stars. I think it's interesting and I do take note of what's going on, but I don't expect something to happen just because this planet's in this house at this time or whatever. But I know some of you are really avid astrologers, and I can absolutely see why. It's fascinating stuff. But for most of you who are not, you might not be quite so interested. So I decided to just do the main stuff. And one of the main things that even people with zero interest in astrology know about is Mercury retrograde. And that happens this Tuesday, the 5th of March. And yeah, people freak out about this. I mentioned on my Instagram, I just don't think it's worth stressing out about. So Mercury is a planet in charge of communication and associated technologies such as smartphones. Travel, mostly short trips like your commute, domestic kind of travel. It's also associated with communication, intellect, which is why sometimes people, when Mercury goes retrograde, they can feel like their brain's a bit fuzzy. The main things to watch out for is that if someone says something that upsets you, they probably didn't mean it, because Mercury can screw around with your words. And what else? Oh, look, there are a lot of things, but the main thing is about that communication. So please don't freak out about it. It happens 3 to 4 times a year. So honestly, if you're going to spend all that time invested in something, worrying about something going wrong, you're probably going to attract that result. So I don't recommend it. Yes, absolutely back up your data. It's a good idea, and you know, in theory you should probably be doing it anyway. I'm a bit lazy about backing up my iPhone. I should do that. And also allow more time for travelling is a good idea. But frankly, if you live in a big city, you're probably used to doing that anyway, because any old sort of snarl up can cause ramifications. That's enough about that. So we'll start shuffling now the cards for Monday the 4th of March and see what's going to come up. Go for it. So, something I did forget to mention, that Mercury retrograde lasts until mid-April. So I've forgotten the exact date. In fact, it should be in my astrology book here. Please hold, caller. Sorry, it's actually March the 28th, so it's not that long. So, you know, it's not a long period, so please don't, I would really encourage you not to spend any time worrying about it. Go for it. So this is like the green light card. So you can see there's an angel on a unicorn, basically getting ready to charge and get full gallop. So if you've been thinking about doing something and you kind of know it's right, but your inner human is freaking out about it. Look, I never tell people to disregard fear, but please don't wait for fear to go away, because it probably won't. Just go for it anyway. You know, there's a reason that 80s book, Feel the Fear and Do It Anyway, was such a hit. It really advocates either using your fear as fuel or just making sure it doesn't hold you back, because, you know, at the end of your life, you're not going to wish that you had taken fewer risks. I'm pretty sure, well, perhaps you will if things have gone badly for you, but I really don't think so. We spend so much time worrying about what's going to go wrong, and it really can be quite life-limiting. So the other thing about this card is it can just be sort of giving you reassurance that you're on the right path. So it might not necessarily be about something new. It might just be things are great, please keep going type of message. So who doesn't need that? Shuffling for Tuesday. Throwing a card around now. Base chakra. I believe in the States you tend to refer to this as the root chakra. So it's the first chakra. Chakras are energy, they're in your energy field. They're called energy centers, basically, to keep it really, really basic. So they're like discs that the energy is flowing through, your life force energy, your chi, your prana, kundalini. And if there are blocks in any of the chakras, there are sort of 7 main ones we focus on in the energy healing, but there are tons more. You know, it can affect your well-being, basically. And this particular one is associated with your sense of safety, your material needs, or the way you feel about your material needs, money, food, shelter, etc. So identity, did I say that? Yes. And what else is the base associated with? We'll just leave it at that for now, because I will post an article that gives you more detail about it, but I don't want to spend too much time going into it now, because some of you I know are already quite au fait with this particular chakra. And so I talked about security and also talked about material needs. So you could see that manifesting as if there is an imbalance or a block in that chakra, you might be constantly afraid of losing all your money. You might be unable to hold on to your money for some reason, or so those two things could work together. Or it could be in terms of your identity. Maybe you're afraid to be who you really are, and that's also affecting you, putting yourself out there in terms of attracting more money, going for jobs, etc. So anyway, those are just examples. They're not, please don't take them literally if they don't apply to you, but really just look at your relationship with money, whether you feel safe in the world, whether you feel like you've got enough of what you need, or whether you do feel like you've got enough of what you need, but you still have some fears around that. 'Cause sometimes there's a gap between what we know logically and what we believe. So we might know, yeah, I've got enough to pay my rent and my bills, I'm actually fine, but we still have this fear, because it's an emotional response rather than something based on the intellect. And that can be because you've had some bad experiences in a past life or in your childhood that you don't remember. The base chakra is the first one that forms in your energy, so it has a lot to do with your upbringing, your parenthood. If you had a parent walk out when you were really, really young, there might be a sense of not knowing who you are. Your cultural identity might be lost if you were given up for adoption or anything like that. These are, again, just examples, but it all plays a part, and sometimes we take on things, especially when we're really little and we don't know where they've come from. Chakra clearing. You can't make this stuff up. Clearly, I did not choose those two to go together, but when things are repeated, it's basically the angels highlighting things like, please pay attention to this. This is super important. So, as I mentioned, there is more than one chakra. There are 7 main ones we focus on. I don't want to go through them all here because they're all, quite involved, or they can be quite involved. But I've got a feeling we might get some more cards coming up around the chakras anyway. But even if we don't, the basic message of this card is about your energy, your energetic field, or your energetic health. So, for example, you might be struggling with emotions, and just really pay attention to whether you've taken on someone else's bad mood by mistake, or you're being affected by the people around you. Energy healing can go way, way deep, and the level of energy healing I do is quite deep. And it's not necessarily saying that you have to go and do that, but it might be just notice how you feel. It might have come up because there's an imbalance in your energy, and sometimes you may have caused that yourself, or sometimes it may be the result of what's around you. And if that's the case, do some Marie Kondo on it. Clear away those bad vibes, some sage or some Reiki or something like that, and really make sure you don't spend time with people who you're getting this from, if you can. Self-acceptance, this is a really powerful one. All that sort of body stuff comes into this as well, body image sort of stuff. It's really just about, you don't have to love yourself. It's for people who've got real issues around their body, and just real struggles with self-love. Saying to someone, you need to love yourself, it's just a bridge too far. So what I like to do is really just focus on being okay with yourself. You don't have to love your body, but certainly if you are hating it and actively, what's the word, in resistance to it, that's something you need to address. And if that's you, I really encourage you to work some more on that with a therapist or with an energy healer. It doesn't have to be image related. It could also be other areas of your life. Like perhaps you're in a job that you never saw yourself getting. You always dreamed of being an actor or something like that. And maybe it's about asking you to accept where you are, even though it's not where you want to be. And it's not, that doesn't mean to say you can't still get there. It's just saying if you're in resistance to where you are in your life right now, you're not going to be able to move forward to where you want to get. I'll just say that again because I'm being told that's super important. If you are in resistance to how your life is right now, you will not be able to move forward to the place you want to go. You don't have to love things as they are, but actively hating your life is, sorry, I just kicked the chair. That's a real problem. And I post an Esther Hicks quote around this all the time that says, if you're not happy with where you are right now, you can't get to where you want to go, because the quote doesn't say this, but it's about you being in resistance. You need to be happy with how things are right now. And if not happy, at least you need to be in acceptance for them, because you will know people who go around telling you about how much they hate their life, they hate their job, hate their husband or whatever. And guess what? They can't attract better situations because they're investing their energy in the hate and the dislike. And even if things aren't great, definitely acknowledge that. You don't want to pretend things are great when they're not, but don't be investing so heavily in the dislike part. Just acknowledge that things can change as well. So things aren't great right now, but I know they'll get better, and there are still some good things going on in my life right now. Thank you, neighbourhood child who just screamed. It was inappropriate. Wow. Never a dull moment. So we're up to Friday now. Oh, that's interesting. Now I've got two cards. I really don't like it when this happens. It makes for a long post. Be brave. Okay, so just asking you to be really courageous. And I feel that she's kind of leaning on this leopard here. And I feel like it's the darkness of that scenario. It's at night. Is important somehow, as if to say, if you're in a dark spot, in a dark place right now, just know that things can get better, and don't let yourself fall into a state of despair, because once you do that, it's really hard to pick yourself back up. Not impossible, but really hard. So sometimes being brave is just about saying, we'll try again tomorrow, or this isn't great, but it will be in the future, and I'll, I'm going to let myself feel how I feel now, but I'm not going to stay here. I don't know if I explained that very well, but there's different levels of bravery. We tend to think of it as something dramatic, like, jumping out of a plane with a parachute, obviously. But, it's not just the big dramatic acts. It's just the everyday stuff. The way it's your resilience. Actually, resilience is the better way to put it. Pause. Some of you are doing too much at once and it's not going well. So if you keep hitting every single roadblock in town, it could be partly Mercury's fault, but also it's probably because you're trying to do too much. Sometimes the universe puts you on hold for a reason. You need to rejuvenate, or you need to wait while certain other things are lined up for you. So trying to push to get that sale at work. Maybe if you just take a break and come back to it, you can, things will be firing again. Sometimes it's just the wrong time, and trying to force things is just not going to happen for you. Let's go to Saturday. This is not a card I expected to get. In fact, I don't feel good about this card, but I was just told it is right, so we'll go with it. Your home is protected by angels. So the key word is home, not so much the protection stuff, although that's relevant. So it could be if people are feeling like they're not happy with... Actually, do you know what? I'm going to go in a different direction with this. If you ever dream about a house or being in a home, that's a symbol for your life. So... if you're constantly worried about how safe you feel in the world or things going wrong, there's a good chance that you are not feeling safe in your home either, because your home is your haven, and if you don't even feel safe there, that's, you know, that's not ideal. I've always been someone who struggles to sleep. I'm a lot better now, which I credit largely to meditation and a lot of energy healing. But part of my reason was I never felt safe. I was constantly worried about someone breaking in, or just things going wrong, or the house catching fire, or anything like that. And just kidding, universe. But yeah, constantly catastrophizing and trying to design your emergency response plan is not, you know, energetically, that's not ideal. And I'm not saying you shouldn't be prepared for things that go wrong, like have a first aid kit, etc. I'm just talking about if you're constantly worried about things going wrong, so much so that you can't sleep, or that you're trying to hide from the world in certain ways. I don't know if this is making any sense, but the point I'm trying to make is it's about feeling safe. So when I said just before, it's not so much about protection, I was kind of wrong about that, because it sort of is. Because on the one hand, they're trying to reassure you that you are safe, but they're also asking you to look at how safe do you feel in the world. So when we don't feel safe in the world, we don't put ourselves forward for new opportunities. We don't take risks. We don't, you know, we don't try to form new relationships with people. We hold back constantly in our closest relationships, that sort of thing. So it's really about safety. And the text on the bottom of this card is quite interesting, and it's something that I learned to do when I first started looking into getting involved in angel cards. And it's about when you go to sleep, if you are struggling to sleep because you don't feel safe, and particularly if you're staying somewhere new, ask Archangel Michael to send guardian angels to every door and every window, and to guard them overnight, to make sure that the inhabitants of the house are safe to sleep. And it really does help. I still do this occasionally sometimes now. Not in my own house so much, but when I'm going away, I often do. It just makes me feel like I'm being looked after and I can let go, because if you're not feeling safe, you're not going to be able to let go of your guard, let down your guard enough to actually sleep. So I have gone off on a massive tangent there. So hopefully I can sum that up pretty well by saying, look at whether you're feeling safe in the world. And it might not just be whether you're feeling safe from physical threats, as in I talked about someone breaking in potentially, but whether you feel safe enough to be yourself and to take chances and push yourself, and whether you feel safe enough to trust that things are going to be okay, or whether you're a catastrophizer, constantly expecting things to go wrong. That's not a great way to live. So, because you're going to constantly be limiting yourself. If you're limiting yourself, you can't grow. Okay. Be strong. Very similar to the bravery message here. Just reminding you that you are strong enough to deal with whatever is given to you, and that strength is going to be key to what happens next. So if you are thinking, I can't do this, things are always going to go badly for me type thing, that's what you're going to attract. Because remember, what you invest in emotionally and mentally is what you attract. It's how the law of attraction works. Like attracts like, magnet like. We don't want that. So, and it's not to say you can't have your doubts and freak out, but don't invest so much in those thoughts. As I say, it is okay to be down now and again, but you just don't want to make sure you get stuck into that and you go down in a negative spiral. You've been there, I know you have, we all have. Yeah, just please know you are strong enough to deal with whatever hand is dealt to you, even though it might not be necessarily a lot of fun. So let's look at the week, March the 4th to the 10th. We've got a theme around our energy, really, in terms of our chakras. Chakras, I say it both ways, interchangeably. I don't know if there's a right or wrong way, but whatever. You guys know what I mean. And I would say these ideas about security and safety are pretty strong. We've got messages assuring us that we're, to be brave, to be strong, and to know that we're protected as we move through the world, and particularly when we're in our safe spaces, our home. Yeah, that's actually a pretty strong theme, that bravery thing. So we do have this go for it as one as well. So it looks like it's going to be a pretty interesting week. Would love to hear, how these are resonating with you and what's going to come up for you. just noticed on this card, and I've never seen this before, even though I'm pretty familiar with these cards, there are some leopards in the corners here of this card. Never noticed that before, and we had that leopard on the other card as well. Excuse me, I'm so sorry. I tried to avoid that. Okay. I do think, I'm just getting told, this self-acceptance card as well is really significant. Might see if I can kind of explain that more clearly when I post it on Instagram. It's really important to get past the superficial, the appearance-based stuff, and to kind of approve of yourself. As I say, loving yourself might be too much, but to try and shift away from a place of feeling like you're not good enough, that you're defective in some way, would be super helpful. And in particular, forgiving yourself for any choices you've made that don't serve you or that you think might have screwed up your life. They haven't. They've got you to the place you need to be so you can learn. So regret, shame, guilt, all tied up in that unhappy kind of scenario there. So, and self-forgiveness is a really important step to move past that. That's it for the week. Thank you very much. Just a reminder that my Instagram is at @OneGroundedAngel. My Facebook page is also called One Grounded Angel. If you want to reach me, my website is www.onegroundedangel.com. As you can see, I'm now back from Hawaii, so I'm now available for appointments again. But there is a bit of a backlog, so small delay, not too much. I'm getting on top of that this week, hopefully, so that I can make more space for people who want readings. Thank you very much for watching and have a terrific week.